Hey everybody, on today's video I'm going to be doing a sort of a 4-month update on the Offgrid Raptor series rooftop tent. I made an initial sort of walk around video a while ago that seemed to help a lot of people, so I was super excited about that. I am in love with this tent, so I'm just going to preface this video by saying that up front. But so on today's video, I just wanted to kind of quickly walk you through sort of my impressions. I've now used this probably about 18 or so nights out of the last 4 months, so I've spent a ton of time in it through both fall and now winter. So it's about 28 degrees right now. I am in Hoosier National Forest in Indiana. Just slept in it last night, got down to about 20 or so. So I'm going to give you my impressions on condensation, quality of the tent, setup and tear down, just kind of my overall, more long-term impressions now that I've had it for about 4 months. I will put a tag up here to that last video where I did talk about putting the cover on, taking it off, and gave a lot of tips around the tent. So if you're looking more for tips on how to operate the tent and how to use the tent and kind of how it is on a daily basis to live with, check that video out. Otherwise, this one again will be more of like my impressions of the tent to date. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Fletch. This is all things overlanding. Basically, I talk about a few things on this channel. Overlanding on a budget, gear. I like to talk about gear a lot. I do a lot of gear reviews and things like that. I have a Nissan Xterra, so a lot of Nissan Xterra modifications, and then just do-it-yourself mods. This rooftop tent is on a custom-built $100 Unistrut roof rack that I did myself. So I'll put a tag up here for that video too if you're interested in that. But I love to build my own stuff for customization reasons and for cost reasons. So keeping the cost down and being able to do what I want. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, click that subscribe button down below. Click the bell to be notified when new videos come out. But let's dive into this video. So before we get too far into the video, I did just want to briefly touch on my featured partners. Again, most channels I feel like have these big logos everywhere and they're super sponsored and they do all this stuff. I hope that you guys don't think that that's the case here. Honestly, these guys don't pay me $1 million every month. They're basically just companies that I had the good luck to kind of find and start to work with, and they make amazing products and have amazing services. So I just want to kind of bring them to light and share them with you guys because I personally think they're amazing and everyone should be, checking them out. So we'll pop through them really quick and then we'll dive into the video on the rooftop tent. Starting with Overland Addict. Again, if you're in the market for any kind of overlanding gear, these guys have it all. So click through that link below, check out their selection on their website. Last US Bags, amazing stuff. They actually worked with Overland Addict to make a custom bag for the stoves that they sell at Overland Addict. But these guys make these awesome quality overlanding bags. So you should definitely check them out through the link in the description below as well. More Expo is coming up here in February 2021, February 13th and 14th, so we're almost on it. But this is going to be an amazing event, the largest Midwest Overland Expo that you can find. So definitely go and check them out as well. Get your tickets. I'll be there. And then last but not least, Northology Adventures. These guys are great. They make this amazing quality digital overlanding and off-the-grid magazine. So again, click through that link, scroll to the middle of the page, put in your email and subscribe for the free monthly Overlanding magazine. All right, so let's dive into my thoughts on this tent. All right, so as you've heard me say, like overall, I'm just super happy with this purchase and this tent. I picked this up on Amazon for right at about $900. Now I've heard from people that recently it's been as low as $850 with free shipping. So that's another huge thing. A lot of shipping on these tents is, $300-400 just to get the tent to you on top of the cost of the tent, which oftentimes is at least $1,500 to $2,000. So for the money, this thing is amazing. The canvas is really thick. It's great quality. I love the style of it. I like this style of rooftop tent better than, the ones that are more difficult to set up and have more awnings and just sort of take a lot more effort. I will say too, when I first got the tent, I was using these straps quite a bit. So they go down and strap onto your fender, or I use my front door handle up there for the front one. But I've, in using this more and more, I've started to use the pin system. So it has these 2 pins, one on each side, that basically will hold the tent up. Now you can use the straps to kind of pull down on it to get it taut. and then you can stick these pins through, and that will actually hold up the whole structure. The reason for that is just access, right? So I always was constantly having to undo this strap to get into the front door, or kind of tripping over it, or, you know, I have a trasharoo here on the back of my truck that was, you know, hindered by the strap. So I just kind of wanted to get them out of the way. You could probably take these off if you were never going to use them. I like having them on just to pull the tent down, but they do make setup super, super easy. As far as thoughts on the tent though, right? So we're talking 4 months now, about 18 nights in this thing. You can see from a size standpoint that for one person, it's plenty big. Now I did throw my heater up here. I have not used that. It makes me pretty nervous because it is not really large enough to have an open flame heater in it. So I brought it up here last night just in case I needed it, but it was perfectly fine. Again, the canvas and everything is really thick and really well made. So all I did was I vented the windows about like that, and just barely on that end. And then I had the whole front door shut all the way. And I slept like a baby. I have a t-shirt, a long sleeve shirt, a fleece, and then a jacket on. And then I have sweatpants and a pair of pants over top of those and some wool socks. And I wore a sock hat. And I didn't even need to use heaters. I didn't even use hand warmers or anything like that last night. And it got down to about 20. So again, for a full season, a 4-season tent, I think that this thing would be pretty reasonable. Now, I would always recommend having redundant heat source backups like chemical hot hands, electric hand warmers, you know, some sort of a heater like this. Eventually, honestly, my setup, now that I've learned everything that I have about this tent and just about heating tents in general, will most likely be a Chinese diesel heater. So that's kind of going to be a project probably for this summer, for next winter, because this is not cool. I'm not going to run this in this tent. So you can see my wool blanket and my sleeping bag are right next to that thing, which is why I never turned it on. So don't worry, I'm not stupid. I didn't turn it on. But so again, as a 4-season tent, I love this thing. I think it's perfect. I would love to get some snow and get some really cold temps in it. But I still just think, you know, it's got the stock mattress, which is garbage, that comes with it. So there is a stock mattress down in here. Then I've bought a 2-inch memory foam mattress, and then I've got this other 2-inch old one that I used to have that's sitting on top. And I'll put links to all these in the descriptions below. Also, that pillow is a memory foam pillow that was really inexpensive, and I sleep like a baby on that thing. It's really nice. So I'll put a link to that as well. Same with the sleeping bag and my wool blanket. Those two combined with just layered clothing has been really warm in this thing, even in the winter. So I'm really, really pleased with the way that the tent sleeps. As far as condensation, so I've been up for about an hour. You can see a drop or two up there. So one person in the tent, no propane heater running or anything, a couple little drips and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip down that back window and just sort of let it dry out. But as far as condensation goes, my impressions, I have heard of people, you know, with rooftop tents saying that they have, you know, just soaking their stuff, just everything soaked when they wake up in the morning. I have never had that. And I've slept in this thing from, 20 degrees up to about 40s in the fall. And I've never had that kind of condensation. Even with my wife and I both in the tent, or myself and both of my boys in the tent, my kids, we've never had that much condensation that it was like dripping or anything like that. So again, I think a lot of that comes down to venting. And if you watch that other video that I linked to where I talk about tips and stuff, I do talk a little bit about how I set that up. So if you want that information, go check that video out. I'll put a tag up here again to that. But as far as impressions go, again, the zippers are all great. That is always a concern, is that the zippers are going to come off the track or they're going to stop working. That happened with my old Coleman tent, which was very cheap. But again, I've used this thing, 2/3 of a month now out of the last 4 months. And the zippers work great. Everything just works great. As long as you dry it out appropriately before you take off for the day, I haven't had any mold. I don't have any leaks. This thing is full-time on the top of my vehicle. I never take it off, and it sits outside in Indiana winter right now. And I don't have any water in it. I don't have any condensation. I drive out to where I'm camping. I open it up, and everything is like it was when I left it. So, again, my thoughts on it are that it is really nice. I really like the quality. Again, if you watch some of my other videos, you know that I ripped a hole in the cover for it on one of these hinges. So if you watch that video, I give some tips on how to repair that if you do that, and also how to avoid doing that. But aside from that, my impressions of this thing are just that it's really a great buy for the money. Compared to used tents, like you could buy a Smitty built used for $650 probably on like a Facebook marketplace, that kind of thing. But I mean, honestly, for the money, I kind of wanted to get a new one. You just never know how someone took care of the tent previously, or if it has mildew or mold or missing pieces or anything like that. And again, the style of it being just that sort of one pole pop-up is definitely what I wanted. You know, again, one of the things that you will hear mentioned on this, and I'm just giving you kind of an update from a time perspective, is that back window there is open to the elements, right? So if it is raining, you can't open that window really unless you want to get soaked. That's the only sort of downside. But again, you can pretty much open the side ones because they're under that awning there. And then with the big awning on the front, you know, you've got plenty of room up there to open that door all the way, even if it's pouring down rain, unless it's literally blowing sideways, where you would be fine. So again, overall, really super impressed with this tent. Really like the quality of it. It's held up extremely well. I mean, it still looks pretty new. I don't have any fading or anything like that. I did treat the roof with some UV spray just to kind of take that extra step to protect it long term. But my goal is to use this thing until it literally falls apart. I mean, for the money, sure, it's still pretty inexpensive for a rooftop tent, but it's still almost $1,000 with taxes. So definitely want to get my use out of it. But so overall, if you are looking for impressions after 4 months of life with this thing and really using it quite a bit, quality's really good. Awnings held up really well. No condensation, no leaks in the top, no problems whatsoever. The ladder still works perfectly well. So overall, I'm super pleased with this thing, and I feel like I got my money's worth for sure. I mean, for the number of nights that I've spent in it, you could have stayed in a hotel maybe 4 times, 5 times. So, and I've gotten, you know, 18 days out of it. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. So again, guys, that's my kind of 4-month thoughts on this thing. Overall, super high quality. I mean, for what you pay, right? Like, I'm sure that there are other tents that are better made. But if they cost 4 times as much to get maybe 20 to 30% more life out of them, that's where I kind of had to draw the line as sort of a budget-minded overlander. Having the extra money from this, so instead of spending $2,000 or $2,500 on a similar style of tent and only spending about $1,000, you know, I was able to buy a Wii Boost for my truck to use to amplify my cell signal so that I could work if I needed to when I'm out in the woods. So I like getting my money to go as far as I possibly can, and I would definitely say with this tent you can do that. So again, I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that gives you guys a little bit more clarity now that I've had the tent for a little bit longer on the benefits of it, the cost of it, the overall way that it's held up over time. So if you have any questions, of course, and I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this video came here because you either have this tent or you're thinking about getting this tent. Any questions that you've got, you know, I've spent a lot of time in this tent. I'm happy to answer them. So post up in the comments down below. Just let me know what you want to know, and I'm happy to answer your questions. If you're not already, check out the description for links to Facebook, Instagram, and the podcast. I put out a weekly podcast/vlog on YouTube and on all major podcast channels about overlanding stuff, talking about gear, talking about overlanding, talking about different trips and planning for trips and all kinds of things like that. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and I'd love to chat with you on those different channels. Just pick the ones you want and come hang out. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful. We'll talk to you next time.